Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I don't know how you got here, but I do hope that you're going to stay until the end of this video because in this particular video, we're going to continue working on a project of mine, which is a studio unit here in the Philippines. So just a little refresher course. We were working on this very rough floor plan and we were trying to achieve everything that the client wanted to happen in their condo unit, which is actually quite small. So now we have to kind of work around what we have come up with, even though we still don't have the actual as-built plan. Last time I was working on the kitchen, so I did make a different drawing that I presented to the client, and I also showed them the floor plan, which was a bit cleaner. Unfortunately, I gave the drawings to them so they could review it, and they did give me a lot of feedback. They were okay with the layout that I had made out for them. Of course, there's not much we can do since the unit is actually quite small, but you know, they were quite happy with the ideas that I presented to them. And then I also had to bring up the problems that I presented to them. So we were able to figure out what we wanted to achieve for their project, for their studio unit. So this was the kitchen at that time. Here we had the door, we have some overhead cabinets, we have the washer, which initially they wanted it to be, they wanted the top to open up, but upon presenting it to them, it posed a lot of problems, and one of those problems was it didn't give them enough space. They want more space. So they decided to just stick with a washer with the face opening instead. So that kind of makes our situation a bit easier in regards to the kitchen. Now in this video, I'm going to re-lay out the whole unit as I presented it to the owner. So we're not going to go ahead and continue this. We're going to work on a new drawing. So once again, we're just going to keep going with our very basic simple rough drawings because we don't have anything final yet. We have to make sure that everything is final before we actually, you know, make everything more nice, more complete, more finished. Anyway, so let's make a rough diagram of how we're going to lay this out. So here we have the layout, and so what happened is we have the restroom here on the side. Okay, we have their toilet and bath. The door opens here on this side, so kind of makes things difficult. Originally, the client as well thought that the door was in the center because that's how it was presented on the plans that was provided by the developer. But as I mentioned last time in the video, that's not how it is. Actually, the door is on this side, and it does open here in the end. So we're going to go ahead and make that here. And then we have the door here in the front of the unit, and we have the kitchen here. Okay, so this is our basic layout so far. This is what we have to work with. Okay, now as I mentioned earlier, really small space, really small space. What we do know so far, we have a giant column here on this end, so we have to take note of that. And we also have a window here in the center, and we know that the air conditioning unit goes somewhere around here, and we also know that we have a window here. Okay, so everything is kind of in the way. So not much has changed from my original layout of the unit, so they were pretty happy with the way I set out the layout. But unfortunately, I had to drop the bad news, which is the space. It's not going to be sufficient enough to fit in everything that they want to fit in. So we're just going to make this so it's more visible for you guys. Okay, and have here the doorway, and lastly this long wall. Oops, it's a bit hot, so the paper is sticking to me. Anyway, yeah, so we got this, and we got the restroom right here. Okay, so this is how our layout is so far. Let's go ahead and make these walls a bit thicker so that it's even more visible. Okay, and this column right here is still a giant issue for us because it's really in the way of everything. But I was able to provide a solution to the client that they found favorable. Okay, so another thing is we're going to put a partition on this side, and we're going to kind of make it equal to the column. So as I mentioned last time, we're assuming that this is somewhere around a depth of or width of 600 or 0.6 meters. And we also have a partition here on this end. So we have a lot of space that's getting taken up. Okay. And I'm just going to try to make it very understandable. Okay. We have this here. We have this. We have the washer right here. So with this being closed off, we don't have to worry about it folding up anymore because now they're going to be using a washer that opens here in the front. Unfortunately, those kind of washers are not really recommended here in the Philippines, but this is what they have to work with, and they agree that it's the only way to make it work, which is good news for me. A lot of times you'll get a client that just really wants to push the boundaries, and they don't, you know, at the end of the day, it's kind of what the client wants, okay? You can give all the facts you can give, but if they are going to force a certain idea, then like I've mentioned in the past, it's up to you if you want to continue pursuing the project or you can just walk away from it. Fortunately, the client is very understanding in this regard, so we were able to figure out that, yeah, it might not be possible. So here we're going to have a partition. We're going to have another partition here and a partition here. So if you notice, this partition is a bit thicker because I provided them with the idea that perhaps we can put the cabinets on this side instead of putting it inside of their sleeping area. The reason for doing that is because the sleeping area is too small. The bed itself, let's go ahead and fix the rest of this so it's more understandable. We're going to go ahead and make that thin line. We're going to put a little recess here so we know that's the air conditioning unit. We're going to put another thin line here. Okay, and just to make it more understandable, we'll make jambs. We'll put door jambs here, door jamb here, and we'll make a door. Try to make it round off. Make another door on this end. Try to make it round off. Okay, so this is the unit so far, how we have discussed it, how I've discussed it with the client. Now, like I said, this partition here is a bit thicker, simply because, so as I mentioned, the bed is supposedly going to go right here. Okay, and we don't want the bed to go all the way to the edge. We want to have, you should always take into consideration the terminations of areas. So we have a termination here. So we have to add a bit of extra space. That way it looks nice when it gets together. And we have also concluded that the way that the owners will sleep will be this way. The reason being is this is where we're going to put the TV. Okay, so we'll have one TV here and one TV on this side. Okay, now let's go ahead and darken those for you guys. TV and TV. Okay, So this is the layout so far. Let's make the bed more understandable as well. Okay, so we'll have 2 people right here. Okay, 2 people fit there. We'll have this thick portion right here. We're actually going to make it into a cabinet cabinet closet, and it will face this way. So the thing about it is we also discussed before how we wanted to put a bed here for the client as per their request. Now the bed has to be hidden, so it can't just be sticking out of nowhere. We have to figure out a way to put it here, so we have to consider the fact that there's going to be some thickness here. Okay, so that means there's going to be some sort of way to pull out a bed here. As I mentioned before, I don't want to have the bed that's just drops, because personally I feel those aren't exactly the safest kinds of mechanisms, because you can never tell what's going to happen. But you can always, as an architect, you can always try to figure out new solutions. As I said before, don't consider design only about aesthetics. Design is not aesthetics. Design is problem solving. We do design in order to solve a problem. Okay, and then over here, they're going to have a desk. So we're going to go ahead and put a chair underneath there. And so that's going to be in front of the AC unit, which is kind of a bit painful, but that's all we can do for now. And then this will most likely have an overhead cabinet right on top there. Okay, go ahead and fill this up also right on top. So the overhead cabinet, of course, will be right there. And here in the front, so if we're going to have a folding bed mechanism out here, that means we can't utilize all of this space, because it's going to be blocked off by the what we're going to put here is some sort of sofa. We're going to design some sort of sofa here, which means that we'll probably only be able to utilize for now the space right here. Okay, so these are cabinet doors, if you're wondering. Sorry. And we're going to try to figure out what we can do with this portion. Now, for the bed, we will have drawers that we can pull out from underneath the bed, but we also need to make sure that there is enough support under it. So we have to have supports along these lines, right? So that means the drawer, something like that. We can't have it fully extend also. A lot of times people, when they design cabinetry or modular works, they always forget to consider what's around it. I remember this one time while I was working as a construction supervisor for a contractor. So we were in charge of overseeing how the architect's designs would be put into the area. So they designed a bunch of drawers and cabinets and stuff like that, and they forgot to pay attention to the corner. So there was a corner where they tried to utilize all the space, and what they did was they put handles, protruding handles. So when one cabinet opened, you couldn't open it all the way because that handle blocked the way. Same thing with this situation right here. You have to pay attention to the surrounding areas. So we know that this bed is going to be somewhere between 1.5 to 2 meters. And they have to have enough space to actually pull out the drawers, right? So we can't extend it all the way, otherwise you can't pull out the drawer all the way and you'll just have a bunch of dead space. That's why my advice was that they can just lift up the mattress, and this is where they'll put more important belongings. So there'll be 2 boxes here on this end, which they can only reach when they pull up the mattress. But here on this end, we'll have 2 drawers that they can pull out completely. So we're trying to give them as much space as possible. Another thing is, as I mentioned last time, they wanted to hang their clothes in front of the window after washing them. So I discussed it with them. There was space up here, but I gave them the option of putting it right here on the side of the column. So now we're going to have this retractable clothes hanger thingy right here at the end. Okay, so this is how the design is going so far. Okay, so this is actually going to be somewhat at a height, let's say a height of 1.8 to 2.1 meters. So this one pulls out, and then these drawers pull out. Okay, and we have the cabinets here, or closets. So they agreed to this idea, thankfully. Which will be put right there. So that means in this portion, the cabinets will most likely be up higher. That way they can actually utilize them. What we can do here is we can make another secret compartment. So let's say they have cabinets here. Let me go ahead and make a section of that. So the problem is we're going to have some sort of sofa blocking the way. And this isn't how the bed is going to work yet. I'm still trying to figure that out, because when you have beds that also fold in the center, what tends to happen is after a while of wear and tear, that center just stays down. And we want to try and avoid that. So I'm also trying to figure out the best way to solve that solution, or solve that problem through design. Okay, so let's say we have cabinets here. And we'll go ahead and end it there. Okay, so most likely we can put them, we can make some overhead cabinets up here. And we can go ahead and open these up, right? And then somehow, perhaps, we can put here another hidden compartment. So this hidden compartment only works when it's in the bed mode. The bed mode, let's say. So let's say when they fold down the bed, this can be a drawer. Okay, and then what's in this drawer will be the cabinets, or will be the pillows and blankets for the bed. Okay, so that's what's going to work there. Now we have this other space that we still haven't figured out how it's going to work. So what I'm thinking is what they can do is pull out this drawer, and then they can lift this. There's a portion here that they can lift up. So basically, if we pull out if we cut it from this side, let's say. So we have, whoops, which way are we? We have top overhead cabinet, another overhead cabinet, okay? And we have a drawer that comes completely out if they need to. Right in this part underneath, there'll be a cover that they can take out, they can take off, and there'll be more compartments for hidden stuff. So that's my design solution for that whole area right there. So this portion is some sort of bed chair thing that we have to figure out how it's going to work. Okay, so there you have it. That's how everything is coming along so far. Here in this portion, like I mentioned earlier, we have enough space for a very, very tiny table. Very tiny table, unfortunately, so tiny. And then we'll have just ottoman chairs, tiny ottoman chairs. We can have 3. Now, another thing I can do here is I can actually design like a transformer type of dining set for them. But that'll have to work. We'll have to work on that at a later time. But I did propose that to them, and I was proposing that these can fold in. So it would make into a round table, and what they can do is if they're going to have like probably 2 more guests can fit in this whole area, because it's still a small space, but as long as they're all comfortable with squeezing in, we can add another 2 people here. they can go ahead and pull this out to the center, because this is actually what the client has expressed they wanted to happen. You know, if they have more guests, at least they have more table space, and they want to. The actual problem there is that there's, you know, there's not enough space, like I've been mentioning earlier. But what they can do is they can pull it out and they can unfold it, and then there can be like chairs underneath that come out, and they can fit another 2 people, so that will be 5 people all in all. And that's pretty much as good as it's going to get. The only thing about that is they have to pull it out and put it back in every time they want to use it. And you know, a lot of things that clients forget is sometimes if they want one thing, they have to understand that there's a give and take process. And you have to be able, as an architect or a designer, you have to be able to give them that information. You can't just pretend like you don't know that information. You have to inform them of these things. And of course, we'll have another overhead cabinet here above the TV. So this one has 4 doors. This thick partition right here, I've suggested that they have a shelf that goes in. And this shelf, if we go ahead and draw it out here, so let's say that this is the, oops, oh wait, I wonder, sorry. This is the ceiling, this is the floor, this is the cabinet from floor to ceiling, and they can have like a pull-out cabinet, okay, a full height pull-out cabinet. And this will have to be on wheels, of course. Oops, let's make it touch the ground at least. Because if you're just going to rely on sliding mechanisms, those also tend to break down after wear and tear. But at least if you have wheels, then you can repair those you know, anytime they need replacing. Or if you also if you need to clean the inside of this area, you can easily just pull it out, and they just need to be safe about it. And then this can turn into a full height shelf. Okay, and the kind of stuff they can fit in this shelf is they can fit dishes, they can fit, you know, the cups, the plates, and the bowls, and they can fit other food items, non-perishable food items, and that'll just extend all the way into the wall. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to point 2 again. Just rough drawings, just to help them understand what's going on in their project. So this is the design solution I have so far in terms of the compartment spaces that they've been requesting for. So they've requested for like a bunch of compartment spaces. That way, because you know, when you have a lot of things, you want to make sure that your area is always clean. So this is what I provided for them. Now here, it's a bit of an option, but they can have like a vertical shelf up here on the side. And what that's going to look like is simply, you take the idea of the cabinets at the end of the cabinet. So this is the ceiling up here, right? And then this is the floor down here. Then we have a fascia board. Remember, terminations are important. And they can just have like a shelf, a small shelf right here, so they can fit their things. Now this shelf can be for like books or trinkets that they've collected throughout the years, or you know, what have you. But yeah, so that's what it's going to be like. Okay. Okay, so right there, and this is where the bed is, of course, on this end. Oh, pillows on this side, sorry. And then we have that window way over here. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. So as you can see, the more we start delving, you know, when you discuss with the client, the important thing is that the project is always moving forward. Because when you discuss with the client and they just, they just keep asking more questions. It's either the client is just difficult, or your solutions are not good enough, or you know there's just a problem with the communication. So I don't want to say that any side is always to blame. There's always two sides to a story, and in this case, there's several sides to the story, because there's more people that are going to be using this unit. But when you encounter that kind of situation, there's always just two things you can do. You can always try to adapt, or you can walk away. If one side doesn't want to give in, I would always consider just walking away from the project. But if you find that the client is just they really want to make it work, but they just don't know how to express themselves properly, then you can keep trying. Don't be ashamed to give your opinion, because when you study something for 5 years and then you have to go into that field, or even more than 5 years sometimes. In my case, it was more than 5 years, because But anyways, and then also when you have to go into that field and you have to do the work of this kind of stuff, and how the ins and outs work, you have to consider all sides of the story, and you have to be able to decide when enough is enough, because there's definitely some clients that they're either trying to milk you, or they're trying to get as much information for free as possible, or something like that. And then as a client, you should make sure that your architect or your designer, your consultant, is always open with you. They're not just doing whatever they want. They're still trying to discuss with you the solutions. And it's during these discussions, you have to figure out some sort of middle ground. You have to have a compromise. And as a client, you should also be respectful to the designer. Let's say the designer already has a certain signature technique, and you keep trashing it. Maybe you found the wrong designer. Maybe you need to look for a different designer. Don't just approach a designer because you know them personally, and that's why you hired them, because you thought they would be able to give you what you want, because that's not the case. Because what you want is not what they're capable of doing. I myself, I have this certain style that a lot of people, when they see my work, even when you don't see my name on it, you can definitely tell somehow, I've seen this kind of work before. And if people like that, then they should come look for me. They shouldn't look for somebody else to imitate that. And if they do look for somebody else to imitate that, then they shouldn't expect it to be exactly like the works that I do. So anyway, enough of that. So that's going to be the layout. Let's go ahead and go here into the kitchen now. So like I said, fortunately, they did agree with me that there is not enough space, so they decided to make a compromise, which is always great news, So here we have the refrigerator. Okay, we want to have space in the back of the refrigerator. Always leave a bit of space in the back of the refrigerator, because it gets hot. And also, you don't want to make it so that the refrigerator is fixed, especially if it's they buy it outside. I mean, if the refrigerator is meant to be fixed in, that's fine. But in this case, they're going to buy a refrigerator outside, and then they're going to put it right here. And that means they should have enough space to at least move it out and clean up in the back if necessary. So that's why I always make sure that there's enough space around the refrigerator to do that. And you should always consider that too. Don't ever give in because the client wants more space, because at the end of the day, they're going to come back to you, and they're just going to be like, why didn't you consider this, even though that they were the ones that were pushing it. Now, if I were to tell the client that you need this space, and they are going to keep pressing me and saying that no, we don't, we want more space for the dining area, for example, then that's when I give them the ultimatum, like either we do it this way because I know that this is the better option, because this is what my expertise would tell me, or you can go ahead and find an architect that's willing to do what you want despite my best advice. Because personally, I don't speak unless I know for a fact that this is better. Okay, so now we have the countertops, which is going to be just fully extended now. So that's perfect. The washer is going to be right underneath this counter, so we lost counter space. And we have the sink here. Right under the sink, of course, we're going to have a grease trap. Grease traps are relatively new here in the Philippines, so not many people know about them, even in this year, 2021. But the grease trap is huge. It's freaking huge, so it takes up a lot of space. So you should always remember that when you're designing. And of course, we're going to have the overhead cabinets. Now these overhead cabinets are going to be a bit larger than these overhead cabinets, simply because they need more space in the kitchen. As for the restroom, we're going to leave that alone for now, but as of right now, this is going to be the layout that we're going to work with. Okay, so as you can see, it's really a giant transformation, actually. If you look at the original rough drawing and the new layout as per discussion with the client, we see a bit of an evolution going on. We see a more concrete idea happening, and that's what we want to happen. Whenever we work, whenever we have a discussion with the client, we want to make sure that there is progress, because when there's no progress, then it's, you know, it's a waste of time. That's when you can consider something a waste of time, when nothing is getting better. It's just, you know, getting worse and worse. But in this case, we do have progress, and that's great news. So let me just fill this in a bit more. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I still don't have an as-built plan, so I can't really make anything too concrete as of right now. We have to work with what we have, and what we have is the developer's plans, and I've already used those to the extent that I can use them based on what I saw. Now, the last time I worked with perspectives right after working on the plan, but that's not. You shouldn't just jump into perspective right away, because the only reason I did that was the client really wanted to see what's going on. So here you can also see some perspectives going on already. So this is kind of how I presented it to them as well. But you always want to start everything with 2D drawings. When I design, I imagine everything in a 3D perspective in my head. But if I can't translate it into a 2D drawing, that means there's something wrong with my 3D idea. Okay? And that's something you should always take note of as well. In this case, so I did have initial discussions with the client before I actually started making the 3D drawing, so that's why I did have somewhat of an idea of what was going on, but it still wasn't a complete idea, which kind of made things a bit difficult when I started drawing them. But this time around, we're going to do it the proper way. And we're going to do an elevation, but in this case, of course, it's a section. And let's go ahead and take our pencil again. We're going to start with the kitchen. The reason we're starting with the kitchen is because the client has expressed that we're going to have to do everything by phase. And I've agreed to that. And that means that, of course, progress will only go on as much as the client can afford it. And that's completely fine with me, because one thing about being an architect is you're trying to help people as well. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of architects that would disagree with that, but that's kind of my motto on the thing. And my philosophy is, one of the philosophies that I believe in is that you should always share the blessings. So share the blessings, share the wealth. I don't really, making money isn't really my end goal with what I do. My end goal is always just making something better. Of course, money is still there, but it's not like at the highest point. And if money is the only thing you're after, then this video probably isn't for you, to be honest. Because there's a lot of people that can make money without, considering without considering proper design. And that's them. This is me. So it's all up to you on how you want to do things. But for me, as a professional, as an ethical person, helping people and making the world a better place, just like the song, those are always above making money. As long as I can make enough money to save a little bit, as long as I can make enough money to eat, pay the rent, pay the bills, then I'm happy. When I want to make more money, then I'll take on a bit of a bigger project, stress myself out, and then the only reason we make more money is to do things that we want to do. But the important thing is that you have a goal. So if you're only trying to make money for the sake of making money, maybe you should reevaluate your life. I'm sorry to go into philosophy here. But if you have like a goal, like you want to go here, or you want to buy this, or you want to invest one day in this kind of business project or something like that, you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, you have to have a goal. And that's the reason you make money. Without a goal, you're not doing anything. You're just building up money for no reason. Anyway, enough of the philosophy. Let's go back to what we were doing. So last time I was able to determine that the ceiling height isn't really that high, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead, and this is going to be the section of the kitchen. This is where the door is. It's a bit slanted, I'm sorry. But let's go ahead and let's work with it. Kitchen. Okay. Our door is right around here somewhere, and the door is actually quite high, so it's somewhere around this point. Okay. So that means we can't really have anything above here. Second thing is, so this is the door, it's somewhere around 2.1, so that means this height is somewhere around 2.2 to 2.3 meters. Okay, so that means that the height of the counters, standard height is somewhere between 0.85 to 0.9 meters. So we know it's somewhere around here. Okay, then we have 0.6 for the washer, somewhere around 0.6. I want to say this is somewhere around 0.8. Okay, it's going at a bit of a slant again, sorry. Let's get my trusty eraser. Normally when I do drawings, to be honest, I don't erase much. I usually just make new drawings, but we have to save the trees, guys. Anyway, there. So we have this going on. 0.8. Actually, that's a bit wide, isn't it? Because if that's 0.9 somewhere, this is 0.6 somewhere, and 0.8 is somewhere around here, to be honest. Get there. Eraser again. This isn't to scale, of course, but as much as possible, I also want to be as realistic as possible, because a lot of times clients get disenchanted when they see the actual, construction. And it's because one thing, when we use computers or when we use our hands to draw things, things get distorted. And when they get distorted, you have like this different idea of how things are supposed to work out. And that's one thing I hate about, like I mentioned before, I don't like to make perfect drawings right off the bat, because perfect drawings are hiding something. I really like making scribbles, because with scribbles, the truth does come out, and people tend to ask more questions when they see scribbles. Like, they ask, why is it like this? Why is it like that? And that's a good thing, actually. Asking questions, don't ever be ashamed to ask questions. I don't know why we live in a society now where asking questions is such a bad thing, but I love it when people ask the right questions. So meaning to say there's people that do ask the wrong questions. I'll share those stories another time. But anyway, so we have the washer somewhere around here. And then we have our refrigerator. We have a window here. So the window is also around 0.8. Okay. And the sink faucet is somewhat high around there, but the sink is only like right here. So I messed up again. Let's make it more centered. There we go. Right there in the center. Okay, that means we can have a shelf right above that. Then we can have another shelf right above, below the window, right? So we're not straying too far from my original conceptual ideas. And we're going to have a partition here that goes all the way up. And this partition is going to block off the ref, which is also around 0.6. So I'm going to say around there. So a normal small ref is around 0.6 meters. And around this point, we're going to have that upright shelf cabinet thing that pulls out right here. Bam. Okay, beautiful. Then we're going to have the ref here around 1.5 to 1.8. Let's just say it's about 1.8 meters to be safe. So it's somewhere around here. Okay. And we're going to have overhead cabinets here and here. Okay, so overhead cabinets right there. We always want, terminations is important when it comes to design. People that don't consider terminations, I don't want to speak, but I really hate that, to be honest. It's like, hate is such a strong word, but you know, if you're going to design something, design it right. So there, we're going to have that extend here, that extend here. So this is where all the dishes go. So that was a question of the client, where do they put all the dishes and stuff like that? Right in there, no problem. Here, ref, and they have a bunch of different type of cooking thingies, so we'll have that there. Now, usually when you have a cooking area, you also have the range hood. So I discussed it with the client, and I did inform them that the range hood isn't technically that important, but if they do want to have a range hood, we can put it right here underneath this. The problem with that, it means this cabinet right here, it will be completely moot. We won't be able to use it anymore. So they're still undecided about that, but that's the option. It will be right there. And it's okay that the shelf is here, because the idea of the induction cooker is, or the idea of the range hood is that it sucks up, you know, whatever is going on down here. Induction cooker will be right here. So it's a single burner, so actually it's not this big. It's probably only about 0.3. And they can move that around as they see fit. But so when they cook things here, bam, it goes right into the range hood. So the only problem with that is it takes up space. So now they have this cabinet here. They can put a shelf over it if it has like a, if it's whatchamacallit, filter is within it. But if it's not, and they're gonna put another vent going outside, then it will go through this window somehow, which probably won't happen based on how developers here in the Philippines work. So it's definitely gonna be a filtered system. So whatever they cook, sucked up in there. Now here on this side, they can have, because they have a bunch of other cooking items, apparatuses and what have you. So at least they have their options going on. Here on this side, they can have a coffee maker. And I wouldn't advise it being here, but we need to use as much of the space as we can. in front of the coffee maker, that's where their space can be for cooking and what have you. They've also expressed to have an extendable workstation, which I've still yet to figure out how to do, because I really need the as-built plans of things to do that. What I'm planning to do here is, inside this area where the washer goes, there's going to be another table that can just come out and roll out, because I really don't like it when you're going to put, like, let's say you have a drawer table and you put force on that. Tendency is that it will break over time. And like I said, when you're designing things, you're not trying to make something look beautiful. You're trying to solve a problem. And when you try to solve a problem, you take the three aspects of design into consideration, which is, beauty is one of them, of course, the construction, and of course the functionality. So you have to make it functional, you have to make it construction-wise, you have to make it durable and standing through the test of time, and you also have to take into fact that it has to be aesthetically pleasing. So the best idea that we could come up with is this countertop that we can pull out of there, but we have to figure out how big the washer is first. Okay. So the washer is going to be opened in the front, and it has its buttons here. If it's too high, we can't have that option anymore. Okay. So another thing we can do is we can have it here on the side, and we can have this like table that's foldable, and you have to pull it out. And the last option would be to put it right here, but that table would be a bit thinner, and hopefully they'll go with this option instead, because I feel like this would be the better option. If we can just pull this out and do the same thing that we're going to do here with the full height shelf, where you can pull it out, then that'll be much better, because we also have the door here, and we don't want the door, like if somebody just comes in suddenly, we don't want them to hit it and break it. So this is probably the best option for them, and that way they can also have like shelves that pull out here, so we can have that on wheels as well. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So the kind of shelves that we're working with. Oh, and lastly, the window we're gonna put here, so we'll have a fascia board to cover it, and then we're gonna put curtains. Okay. And here on this shelf, we're gonna have all the other cooking apparatuses that we can fit. So we'll have like the microwave up here. Here, I'm not quite sure, maybe we'll have a blender. Hopefully all of this stuff can fit in this space, because when we look at it, I want to say that, so we know that this height is somewhere around 2.4 or 2.3, 2.2, 2.3. So we're going to have to go with the smallest unit, which is 2.3 meters, 2,300, right? So we know that this countertop right here is somewhere around 0.9 meters, right? And we know up here on this window, this is probably somewhere between 400, 500, so 0.4, 0.5. Okay, so that means that's 2.4. Oh, I'm sorry, we wanted to make this 2.2. That way we can be as safe as possible. So 2,200. I like to work with millimeters because that gives us more room for error if ever we have to adjust something. So anyway, 0.9 plus 0.5 is 1.4 meters. So that leaves us with 0.8 here, correct? Oh, I'm sorry, not 0.8. Yeah, 1.4 plus 0.8, so 800, correct. Okay. So that means that this is somewhere between, these two are somewhere between 400 and 400. And this is the best case scenario, okay? This is the best case scenario we're talking about here. So as much as possible, this is how I would like it to play out, but we have to be realistic when we do this. because you know we just don't know yet, because we haven't really done an as-built plan yet. So anyway, let's go ahead and fill out the spaces. We have our this overhead cabinet. It's just gonna go right up to here. There we go. And this one all the way down. Got a bit crooked there in the end, sorry. And this one here, all the way here. Okay, and we'll have fascia terminations, important. Ingrain that in your heads, guys. Terminations are important. Here, we don't really need a fascia because we have wheels going on at the bottom. Okay. And then here, like I said, we need a partition here. The reason for the partition is because we have a shelf, and we need a lot more than just, you know, hopes and dreams to make sure that the shelf stays in its place. So with a partition here, that means that this shelf will have more support. And the depth of this shelf is gonna be somewhere around 0.3. And the overhead cabinet will be somewhere in the depth of 0.4. Okay, and we'll have another shelf here. Now this shelf is simply for design purposes for the window. Okay, and then we'll have the countertop here. Bam. All right. And then let's go ahead and fill in the rest of these things. So right here, overhead cabinets, got them here. So hopefully they'll take my suggestion here with this one. Let's go ahead and fill that up with the darker thickness right here. So that means it's going to be on wheels, and then this will be the portion that's fixed right under the sink because we have a grease trap. So this will have a door here. So the grease trap I was telling you guys about, it's really big. Most likely take up that much space right there. Possibly even more, hopefully not. Depends on the product, really. So here we're gonna have wheels, and wheels. Let's go ahead and bam, right up to there. That's where it's going. And that one's fine. Okay, we have our cabinets there. We have a sink here. Let's go ahead and do it like that so we know it's a sink. All right, we have the induction cooker on this end. And then here we can have the air pressure cooker. Okay, and here next to the sink we'll have a coffee pot. Okay, and go ahead and make that like that. Here is the washing machine. Okay. Make sure that the washing machine also has a source, because they show it in like their showcase models, like, oh, this is where the washer would go, but sometimes they don't mention the fact that, oh, by the way, you need to install this in order to make it work. But anyway, it's there. So we have the washing machine here. And then let's pretend that we have something cooking. All right, we got the pot there, and then we got the induction, and we have the range hood where everything gets sucked up. Okay, and here we can have a small but functional microwave. Okay, I'm just gonna do a bit of hatching there. And then maybe here we'll have a blender. Then here, perhaps they can put some canned foods, whatever they're gonna put here. Here we can have like a box of some sort. Okay, and gonna put some writing on that. Okay, so this is what the kitchen will look like. Some people would put a false drawer here, but we don't have to do that. Also, I could design the drawer, even though it will be mobile. We can actually have it have drawers here, but that will be up to the client as well. So we'll have to discuss that further with the client. And then here we do have the curtains. Okay. Right there, just like that. Yeah, perfect. And last but not least, we have the refrigerator right here in its spot. Oops, sorry. So it's up to them if they want to have a double door or a single door, but for this scenario, we'll just make it a double door. Okay, put the little logo there. Okay, and this is our layout for the kitchen. Okay, or this is our section, our elevation for the kitchen. We're gonna go ahead and put in pencil the different things we got going on. So we have this shelf here for our stuff that goes in there. We'll have a middle shelf going through this cabinet, right? Here, so like I said, sink, grease trap. Then we can have either shelves or drawers, up to the client. We'll discuss that further. Of course, the opening is going to be like this. Okay. So here, of course, we have the shelf here, but we also have to consider that the range hood space, whatever it's going to take up here. So we're not quite sure yet. Okay. Now, just for the sake of, for the sake of having a working drawing, let's go ahead and mark these. Okay. Right there, right there, right there. Go ahead and use 0.6 here. Coming out quite nicely, actually. So this is our rough idea of how everything is going to work. And this is like really hoping for the best optimal outcome right now. So right here on the counter, like I was saying, so we're gonna, oh wait, yeah, let's use 0.2 here. We're gonna hope that they agree to the idea here that this can be pulled out. So let's say we have the counter here. And we have our sink. Bam, sink. And then we have a shelf on top of that. So underneath here, this is where the grease trap is gonna go. Right under there. And right under here, we'll have a cabinet that can pull out and work as a working desk as well. So it's up to them, like I said, if they want to have shelves on it or not. And then we'll have to have another partition here, of course. This is too far, actually. Let's make it more realistic. Somewhere around this part right here, right there. Okay, just like that. And partition, and this is extending. This is where the washer will go, right underneath here. Okay. Okay, and this is where the induction cooker, right above that, or how far above it? We want it to be right here. Induction cooker. All right. Okay. Here we'll have the air pressure cooker. Somewhere there. And here we're just gonna have like a coffee maker. Somewhere around here. Right underneath the shelf. And here, partition again for the refrigerator. Okay. Just a bit higher, like right around there. Bam. I'm just gonna make this into another scribble. I hope you guys are okay with that. So this is just so the client has an idea of what's going on. So like I said, 2D drawings, always better to work with 2D drawings first, and then you can make perspectives. This is actually how I do my presentation drawings as well. I can tell you right now, professors, they hated it. They thought it was too messy. I didn't care. This is my style. So even after I graduated, I continued doing this kind of style, and they probably would still hate it up to now. But you know, I didn't study to be like them. I studied to be like me. And if you're an architect as well, or if you're a student that doesn't really, you know, completely agree with your professors, then the best advice I can give you is just do what they say for now. And then once you're on your own terms, do it the way you want to do it. You know, Vincent van Gogh, for example, nobody liked his style of drawings way back in the day. Everybody hated it. They were just like, what the frick is that? And unfortunately, he was only appreciated when he passed away. Very, you know, but the fact that he was still appreciated after just goes to show that sometimes people don't know what the hell they're talking about. And, you know, what's important is that at the end of the day, you're you. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's go ahead and try to finish this. So my professors hate this style. They probably would still hate it up to today. Don't care. This is my style. This is my work. This is how I do my work. And I'm proud of it, okay? And that's all that matters to me in the end of the day. Okay. We'll have a coffee pot here. So the one thing I enjoy about my style too is that, you know, it's not a lot of people do it this way, and I enjoy that because that means that makes me unique. I know a lot of people don't appreciate it as well, but you know, just do you, man. Okay. Coffee maker. We got an induction cooker here. Oops. There we go. And we have the air pressure cooker going onwards. We got this height here. I'm pretty sure an induction cooker is only around 0.4 as well, so that means they have to pull this out in order to use it. And the refrigerator right here. Okay, another partition. And yeah, something like that. Something like that. Up here we have the cans. As I was saying earlier, just make a bunch of scribbles. And yeah, and here we have a blender, so forth. Bam. Okay, so at least now you have an idea of how I imagine the kitchen looking. Then we can also have callouts here, but we're gonna leave it at that for now. So as you can see, there is progress going on. You can, you know, from my drawings alone, you can kind of imagine how this unit is gonna look already. Of course, I still haven't worked on the colors yet. The problem with the colors is when you start from a project that's already there, sometimes you have to work with what's already there as well. So the tiles, I kind of told the client that, well, I told the client, I didn't kind of tell them, I told them that the color wasn't that appealing with the kind of style that they were trying to go for at the time. And they had to look into their budget to see if they could change the tiles, but unfortunately we couldn't. But that doesn't mean we can't figure out a way to make it look beautiful, you know what I mean? So we just have to, you know, just have to have faith. Let's go ahead and put like blinds here. Bam, bam. Blinds, and then we'll put the, sorry, my passion really is designing, so that's why when I see things that I could continue working on, it's, you know, just in my nature to keep trying to do it. Anyway, yeah, so we have this going on. Color scheme, we're probably gonna have to work some with like warm colors, because like I said, that's kind of what we have to work with on site. Kitchen, we have a more concrete idea of what's going on with the kitchen. When we do the as-built plan, we're going to see how much of it we can apply. Hopefully my assumptions are pretty damn close, but if not, you know, if like this is going to end up being 200, we're going to have to figure out a different way to get around that. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and end this video here. Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a lot from it. You know, every architect will definitely have a different style. Every client will definitely have different tastes. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Just remember that. And design is not only aesthetics, okay? Designing is about solving a problem. But anyway, I do really hope you guys enjoyed watching. But now, oh wait. I'm sorry, I saw something. Bam, okay. Imagine that one line kind of makes it look a bit different. But anyway, I hope you guys always take care. I hope we can always better ourselves. And until next time, bye-bye.